How did one smug sentence about my name on the deed turn into a courthouse moment where the judge looked at me like I was a stranger? What happened when my husband stayed calm, kept records, and let the law speak for him in public? Why did I walk in thinking I owned everything and walk out with nothing? My name is Ligeia Archer Holloway, and people always think that means I am dramatic. I tell them I am only honest. I work in HR at a logistics company. I talk to drivers, managers, and people who complain all day. I learned a long time ago that the first story people hear becomes the truth. I used that skill at work, and then I used it at home. Grant was my husband. He was steady. He was quiet. He did not like attention. I used to say that was his best part because it made me look bright next to him. Later, I started saying it was his worst part because it made me feel alone. I still think I was right to say it, even now. That week, I kept coming home late. I told myself it was because I had pressure at work. I did have pressure, but I also had Evan. Evan was a vendor rep who came into our office with coffee and jokes. He listened in a way that felt easy. He asked how my day was. I said no one at home noticed me. He said I deserved to be seen. I said I was tired of being the only adult in my marriage. That was my favorite line. It made me sound like a hero. On Tuesday evening, Grant asked if I would be home for dinner. I said HR had an emergency and I needed to stay. I said it in a calm voice, like a person with a mission. He asked what kind of emergency. I said I could not talk about it. I watched his face as I said it. He looked hurt, but he did not argue. That made me angry in a strange way. It felt like he was refusing to fight for me. When I walked in later, I saw him in the kitchen cleaning the counter. The kids were asleep. The house smelled like dish soap. Grant asked if I ate. I said I grabbed something. He asked if everything was okay. I said he always asked questions like an investigator. He said he was only worried. I said worry can be control. I knew that sentence would sting. I used it anyway. My phone buzzed on the table. I saw Evan's name light up for a second. I flipped the phone over fast. Grant saw that move. He asked who it was. I said it was a coworker. He asked why I looked nervous. I said he was imagining things. He said he felt like I was far away. I said he made me far away by being cold. I did not even stop to check if that was fair. I just needed to win the moment. I had planned something else too. I had been thinking about the house for months. The deed was in my name. We did it that way years ago because my credit was stronger at the time and the lender moved faster. We both paid. We both signed papers. But the deed had my name in the big place, and that was enough for me. In my head, it was a crown. After the kids were asleep, I went to the hall closet and pulled out a folder. The folder was labeled Household in black marker, like we were a small company. Under it were other labels like Utilities and Bank. Grant used to keep those neat. I used to laugh at it. That night, I liked that it looked official. I walked back to the kitchen table and put the folder down. Grant asked what I was doing. I said I was tired of feeling unsafe in my own home. He blinked at the word unsafe. He asked if I meant physically unsafe. I said I meant emotionally unsafe. He asked what he did. I said he made me feel judged and small. He said he did not understand. I said he never understood, and that was the problem. Then I opened the folder and showed him the deed copy. I did not wave it around. I placed it flat, like a final answer. I told him my name was on the deed, and that meant the house was mine. I told him he should move out for a while, because the kids needed peace. I made my voice soft when I said the kids' part. I wanted him to feel like he would harm them if he stayed. Grant asked if this was about another person. I said he was paranoid. He asked again, quieter, if I was seeing someone. I said it was insulting that he thought I could do that. I acted offended, like his question was violence. He apologized. He said he did not want to fight. I said I did not want one either, and that was why he needed to go. I waited for him to explode. I waited for him to slam something, to raise his voice, to give me a reason to tell people I had to protect myself. He did not. He sat for a moment. He looked at the deed, then at me. He asked what I wanted. I said space. He asked how long. I said until I could breathe. He nodded like he was taking notes. He stood up and walked to the bedroom. I followed, ready to throw more words like stones. He opened a drawer on his desk. I heard a small click. It sounded like a lock. That detail stayed in my head. He pulled out a suitcase and folded clothes into it. He did it neatly. He did not throw anything. He did not beg. When he came back to the hallway, he asked if he could take the kids to school in the morning. I said no because I needed routine. He asked if he could come after work to see them. I said we would see. He looked like he wanted to say more, but he stopped. He said, "Okay," and walked to the door. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. In the driveway, he put the suitcase in the car. The porch light made a hard circle around him. A neighbor's blinds moved across the street. I felt a small rush. I imagined telling the story later. Grant asked if I wanted him to text when he arrived somewhere. I said I did not care. That was a lie. I cared that he was leaving without asking me to stay. The next morning, I took the kids to daycare. Mila held my hand tighter than usual. Noah dragged his little backpack. A mother from our street smiled at me and asked if everything was fine. I said Grant was taking space because he could not handle my job stress. I said I was holding it together for the kids. She said that sounded hard. I nodded like a brave person. I did not mention the deed. I kept that part for when I needed a bigger weapon. When I got back in the car, my phone buzzed again. Evan asked if I was free after work. I said maybe, because my husband moved out. Evan sent a happy reply. I stared at it and told myself I earned this. I told myself Grant pushed me here. I told myself a deed was the same as a clean conscience. That evening, Grant came to pick up the kids' extra shoes. He stayed at the door. He asked if he could come inside for a minute. I said no. He nodded and waited like a visitor. When he left, I noticed something strange. His side of the closet was still full, but the drawer by his desk felt different, like it had been shut with purpose. I stood there, listening to the quiet house, and I realized I did not feel safer. I felt watched by the silence. The next day at work, I walked in like I was starting a new life. I wore my nicer shoes and a bright lipstick. I told myself it was for confidence, not for anyone else. The open-plan office was loud with phones and keyboards. I liked that noise. It made my home choices feel far away. Evan came by around noon, like he always did on vendor days. He carried 2 coffees and smiled like he knew a secret. He asked how my week was going. I said it was better because I finally set boundaries. He asked what that meant. I said my husband moved out and I could breathe again. Evan said he was proud of me. I let that word land. Proud. It sounded like approval, and I wanted more of it. I went back to my desk and did real work for a while. Then I checked my phone. Grant had sent a short message about the kids. He asked what time I wanted him to pick them up on Friday. I stared at the words. There was no anger in them. There was no begging. I wrote back that I would tell him later. Then I told myself I should not be the one who plans around him. I told myself he caused this. At my lunch break, Cassidy texted me and asked if I wanted to go out that night. Cassidy always loved drama, but she called it empowerment. She said we could do a rooftop bar and take photos. I said yes. I told myself I deserved a public reset. I also knew pictures would help my story. If I looked happy, people would assume I escaped something. In the afternoon, my manager asked if I could step into a small meeting room. He asked if everything was okay at home because I looked tired. I said my husband was acting unstable and I was handling it. The manager looked uncomfortable. He asked if I needed time off. I said no because I was strong. I watched his face as I said it. He nodded, but I could tell he did not know what to do with my words. Later, Evan stopped by my desk again. He asked if I wanted to grab a drink soon. I said maybe, because I was busy with family changes. He asked if my husband knew. I said my husband knew he pushed me too far. Evan said I should not feel guilty for living. I agreed fast. I did not want to slow down and think. That evening, I dropped the kids at my mother's place for 2 hours. Denise asked why I looked dressed up. I said I needed to remember who I was. She asked if Grant was being difficult. I said he was being cold and passive. Denise said passive men were the worst because they made women look crazy. I liked that sentence. It protected me. I told her my name was on the deed, and Grant had no claim to the house. Denise said I was smart for thinking ahead. Raymond was in the living room watching the news. He asked if I was sure about that. I said yes, like certainty could change reality. On the way to meet Cassidy, I kept checking my phone. Grant had not sent anything else. I told myself he was trying to punish me with silence. I told myself he wanted me to feel guilty. It was easier to believe that than to admit he might be moving on. The rooftop bar was bright and cold with wind. The city lights made everything look sharp. Cassidy and 2 other friends were already there. They asked how I felt. I said free. Cassidy asked if I was scared. I said no because I finally chose myself. I talked in big sentences like a person giving a speech. The friends nodded and laughed at the right times. I could feel them building my story with me. Cassidy asked if Grant begged. I said he tried to guilt me. That was not true, but it sounded right. One friend asked if Grant was the type who would fight dirty. I said he was the type who liked control. I did not say he was violent. I did not need to. I let their faces fill in the worst image on their own. Cassidy told me to take a group photo. I held the phone high and smiled hard. She posted it fast. She wrote a caption about choosing peace. She tagged me. I watched the likes start to come in one by one, like small votes in my favor. While we drank, I checked my messages again. Grant had seen the tag. I knew because the app showed it. He did not react. I wanted him to react. I wanted him to ask what I was doing. I wanted him to show jealousy so I could say he was controlling. He stayed quiet. I texted him anyway. I told him he was being immature by ignoring me. I told him that his silence proved he never cared. He replied an hour later. He did not answer my accusations. He only asked what time he should pick up Mila on Friday and if Noah needed his allergy medicine. The message was short. It was clean. It made me look messy next to it. Cassidy asked why I looked upset. I said Grant was still trying to control everything with rules. Cassidy said I should not let him set the terms. She said I should show him I was not afraid. I nodded. I told myself she was right because she was loud. After the bar, I stopped at a supermarket because I did not want to go home to an empty kitchen. I pushed the cart fast, like speed could fix my mood. I bought fancy snacks, fruit I did not usually buy, and a bottle of sparkling water that cost too much. I told myself it was self-care. At the checkout, the total was higher than I expected. My face got hot. I paid, but I felt exposed, like the cashier could see through me. When I got to the car, I opened my banking app. The shared account balance looked smaller than I thought it should. I told myself Grant must be moving money. I told myself he was trying to trap me. I did not consider that I had been spending more. I did not want to count my own choices. At home, the house felt quiet in a way I did not like. I walked past Grant's empty chair at the table. I glanced at the hallway closet where the labeled folders were. I saw the folder edges were too neat, like someone had been sorting them. I felt a sting of fear and covered it with anger. I texted Evan again. I asked if he wanted to meet this weekend. He replied slower than before. He said work was busy. He added a smiling emoji, like that could replace real interest. I told myself he was just tired. I did not want to see the warning. Right before bed, my phone buzzed. It was Grant. The message was not about feelings. It was not even about the kids. He said he wanted all future plans and requests in writing, and he would also reply in writing. He said it would be easier that way. I read it twice, then a third time. The calm tone felt like a locked door. On Friday, I chose the family restaurant on purpose. It had long tables and bright lights. It was the kind of place where everyone could hear everyone. Denise said it was smart to talk like adults. I knew what she meant. She wanted witnesses. I wanted them too. I arrived first with the kids. Mila sat close to me. Noah played with the paper menu like it was a toy. Denise and Raymond came in and hugged the kids. Denise asked where Grant was. I said he was late again, like that was proof of something. Raymond asked if I told him the time. I said yes, even though I said it with a vague text. Grant walked in a few minutes later. He looked tired but clean. He did not look guilty. That bothered me. He asked how the kids were. I said they were confused because of his choices. He said he was there to keep things stable. I heard the word stable like a challenge. Janet came in behind him. Kara came too. Kara smiled at the kids and sat on the other side, like she was making a safe zone. I hated that calm smile. It made me feel like I was the messy one. Denise started fast. She asked Grant why he was making things hard. She said he should respect my name on the deed. Grant listened, then asked if we could only talk about the children at dinner. Denise said he was avoiding responsibility. Grant said he was not avoiding. He was choosing the right topic. I leaned in and helped Denise. I told the table Grant had been cold for years. I said he never listened. I said he always made me feel small. Grant asked what I meant by never. He asked for one clear example. I did not like that. I did not want facts. I wanted feelings to win. I said I should not need a list because it was my life. Janet asked me if I was okay. Her voice was polite, but it felt sharp. I said I was finally okay because I stopped letting Grant control me. Grant looked at her, then back at me. He asked if I wanted to talk privately. I said no, because private talks were where men twisted the story. That sentence made Denise nod like I was brave. Mila asked why Dad did not sleep at home. I told her Dad wanted space. Grant said he did not want space from the kids. He said he wanted peace between adults. I quickly said peace was what I asked for first. Then I reminded everyone that he left. Kara asked if we could talk about the school schedule. Grant said yes. Kara asked what days he could do pickup. Grant gave clear times. I interrupted and said it was too strict. I said he was acting like a robot. Grant said he needed clarity, so the kids were not stuck in confusion. I felt the table watching me. I laughed and said he always loved rules more than people. When the food came, I did not eat much. I watched Grant's hands. I watched his face. I waited for him to snap. He did not. He asked Noah if he wanted fries. He asked Mila if she wanted ketchup. He spoke softly. It made me look loud by comparison. After dinner, we walked out to the parking lot. Denise told Grant he should sign something simple and stop dragging things out. Grant said he would not sign rushed promises. Denise said he was punishing me. Grant said he was not punishing anyone, and he would focus on lawful steps and calm routines. I did not like the word lawful. It sounded like he was moving the fight to a place where my feelings did not matter. On Saturday, I took the kids to the school playground. I told myself I was being a good mother. I also knew other parents would be there. I wanted them to see me smiling. I wanted them to see Grant as the distant one. Grant arrived later to take the kids for his time. He stood near the gate, not too close to me. He asked if Mila had her reading book. I said she did, like he was being dramatic. He asked again, calmly. I handed it over and said he was acting like a supervisor. A parent from Mila's class came over and asked if we were okay. I answered before Grant could. I said we were co-parenting because Grant had issues with closeness. Grant looked at me and asked me to keep things private. I said he was trying to silence me again. I raised my voice a little, just enough. I watched the parents' eyes widen. I I felt powerful for a second. Grant did not react the way I wanted. He nodded and said he would not argue in public. He said if I had requests, I could text them, and he would reply in writing. The parent looked at him like he was the calm one. That made my stomach twist. While Grant helped Noah with his jacket, I saw his phone screen light up. It showed a missed call with no name. It only said no caller ID. Grant tapped the screen off. He did it smoothly, like it was normal. My mind raced. I told myself he was hiding something. I needed him to be hiding something. I needed balance. That afternoon, I went to the gym. I told myself it was for stress. Evan was there in the lobby, leaning against the smoothie bar like he belonged there. He asked how I was holding up. I said I was winning, but people were trying to make me look bad. Evan asked if my husband was angry. I said he was doing this quiet punishment thing. Evan said quiet men were scary because they planned. I liked that sentence because it made me feel like my fear was not guilt. Evan asked if I wanted to come over later. I said I could not because I had the kids. He said maybe next time. His eyes drifted away as he said it. I felt the shift. I acted like I did not. I told him Grant was already out of my life. Evan nodded, but it was not the same eager nod as before. That night, Grant came to drop off a bag of the kids' clothes. He stayed outside again. He asked if we could agree on a simple routine so the kids would not feel pulled. I said he was acting like he owned the schedule. He said he was trying to protect the kids from stress. I said the kids were stressed because he left. He did not argue. He said okay and walked to his car. When he turned the key, I noticed something on his keyring. There was a new key. It was not one of ours. It was shiny, like it was new. I stared at it until his car pulled away. I went back inside and stood in the hallway. The house felt the same, but also not the same. I told myself I was still in control because my name was on the deed. I said it out loud to the empty air, like a spell. Then I looked at the quiet labeled folders in the closet and felt a strange chill, like someone else was writing the real story while I was busy performing mine. On Monday morning, I decided to make the house feel like mine again. I moved a plant to the entry table and put my shoes in a neat line by the door. I told myself order meant power. I checked the deed folder in the closet like a person checking a lock. I felt calm for 10 seconds. Grant texted about pickup. He asked if he could come inside for 2 minutes to help the kids get ready after daycare. I said no, because it would confuse them. I added that he chose to leave, so he could handle the outside. He replied that he understood. He asked if I could put their coats in a bag. I did not like that he did not argue. At daycare pickup, Mila walked out holding Noah's hand. She looked tired in her face, not in her body. She asked why Dad waited in the car now. I said Dad liked being dramatic. I said he wanted to punish me by being distant. Mila frowned like she was trying to solve a puzzle too big for her. Noah asked if Dad was mad. I said Dad was mad at himself. I said adults sometimes acted strange. Grant was parked at the end of the line, away from the door. That felt like a statement. He stood by the trunk and waited. When I walked up, he asked if Noah had his allergy medicine. I said yes, like he was annoying. He asked if Mila had her reading log. I said yes again, and I shoved the bag toward him. He thanked me. His voice was even. It made me feel like I was the one with the problem. A daycare worker came out and asked if we had a stable schedule for next week. I answered fast. I said I was the stable one, and I would update them. I said Grant's life was in flux. Grant looked at the worker and said he could send the schedule in writing. The worker nodded, like that was reasonable. I felt my cheeks heat up. I told myself the worker was biased toward calm men. As Grant buckled the kids into the car, Mila asked if she could bring her stuffed rabbit. I said no, because things got lost. Grant asked if the rabbit helped her sleep. Mila nodded. Grant said she could bring it, and he would return it. I snapped that he always tried to be the fun parent. Grant said he was only trying to reduce stress. Noah started to whine, and Mila stared at the ground. I hated that their faces made me look wrong. When Grant drove off, I watched his car like it was leaving with something that belonged to me. It was not just the kids. It was the role of the good one. I told myself I had to protect that role, because once people doubted me, everything would fall. That evening, I called Denise and told her Grant was being cold and robotic. Denise said robotic men planned revenge. She asked if I felt safe. I said yes, but I also said he was trying to trap me with rules. Denise told me to stand firm and not let him inside the house again. She said the deed was still my shield. Raymond got on the phone and asked if I was making this worse. I said he did not understand what it was like to live with someone who refused to fight. Raymond went quiet like he did not want to argue with me. On Tuesday, I drove by a co-working space near downtown. I told myself it was an accident. I saw Grant through the glass. He sat at a table with a laptop open. There were 2 mugs on the table, but only one person. That detail made my stomach clench, like the scene was telling me I was not needed. I saw a spreadsheet on his screen. I could not read the title, but I could see rows and neat numbers. He looked focused, not broken. He did not look like a man sleeping on a friend's couch. He looked like a man building something. I stayed in the car a minute too long. I told myself he was tracking money to punish me. I told myself he was planning to take the kids. I did not have proof. I only had fear. Fear felt like proof in my body, so I treated it like truth. At work, Evan was slower to reply. I sent him a message about meeting on Thursday. He answered hours later and said he was busy. I asked if he was avoiding me. He said he did not want problems. I told him Grant was out and it was fine. Evan said he hoped things stayed calm. I read his words like a step backward. I felt stupid, and I turned that feeling into anger at Grant. It was easier. That night, I tried to pull the kids toward my side with little rewards. I let them pick cartoons longer than usual. I made pancakes for dinner. Mila asked if Dad would come home soon. I said maybe, if he stopped being stubborn. She asked if I did something wrong. I said no, and I smiled too hard. She watched my smile like she did not trust it. I still think children notice more than adults admit. On Wednesday, Grant came for drop-off and stayed at the sidewalk again. He asked if he could step inside for 1 minute to check the kids' school bags. I said no, because boundaries mattered. He said, okay. He handed me a small list on his phone screen and asked if I could confirm 2 schedule items. He said he wanted fewer surprises for the kids. I said he was acting like a manager. He said he was trying to be consistent. He did not raise his voice. He did not even sigh. After he left, I went upstairs and looked at his desk. I did not open drawers. I told myself I was not that kind of person. I only stood there and stared at the edges, like I could see through wood. I heard a faint sound from the laundry room. It was a low hum, then a stop, then a hum again. It reminded me of a shredder. I told myself it was the washing machine. The washing machine was not running. Late that night, I sat on the balcony with my phone. The air was cold. The street below was quiet. I scrolled through my old posts from the rooftop bar and watched the comments. Some people wrote that I looked strong. I liked those comments. Then I saw a notification on our shared tablet inside, the one we used for the kids' cartoons. It lit up with a CloudSync message. It said a file was uploaded successfully. The file name was only a date. I stared at it for a long time. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself I was still the owner of the house. But the date on that message felt like a stamp on a box. Like someone was packing my life into labeled parts while I was busy telling everyone I won. I could not stop thinking about that cloud message on the tablet. A file had been uploaded with only a date, like a quiet stamp. I told myself it was a mistake. I told myself it was work stuff, but my body did not believe me. My body acted like it heard footsteps in the dark. The next morning, I called Denise before breakfast. I told her Grant was doing something behind my back. She asked what I meant. I said he was collecting things and hiding them. She said calm men planned, and I should push first. She told me I needed a clean agreement, something simple, something that proved I was the one in control. Raymond heard her and asked what something meant. Denise said it meant being smart. Raymond said being smart also meant not lying. I acted offended and said no one trusted women when they spoke up. At work, I tried to focus, but my eyes kept drifting to my phone. Evan did not text first anymore. I hated that. I sent him a message about seeing each other on the weekend. He replied late and said he was busy. I asked if he was pulling away. He said he did not want trouble with the family situation. I told him Grant was out already, so there was no trouble. Evan said he hoped it stayed calm. That word again, calm, like the world was telling me I was the storm. I decided I needed to force Grant into a private deal. If I could make him agree to my story, then the world would follow. I texted him and said we should meet to settle things like adults. He replied that he could meet in a neutral place and talk about a schedule and expenses. I hated the word neutral, because it sounded like he did not want me close enough to push him. We met 2 days later in a waiting area near downtown. The building smelled like coffee and printer paper. The chairs were lined up like a clinic. A receptionist asked for our names and told us to sit until we were called. Grant sat on one end with his hands folded. I sat on the other end and crossed my legs hard like a statement. I tried to start with emotion because emotion usually made people bend. I told him the kids were confused, and he needed to stop acting distant. He said he was not distant from the kids, and he would keep his time and his calls steady. I said steady sounded like a cold plan. He said steady was what children needed. I leaned closer and told him he should sign something simple that said he moved out on his own and had no claim to the house. I said it like it was common sense. Grant asked what I meant by no claim. He asked if I was trying to change the facts of what we both paid and built. I said facts were the deed, and the deed was my name. I told him he knew that, and he should accept it. Grant did not raise his voice. He asked if I truly believed a marriage worked like a sticker on a folder. He said he did not want to argue in a hallway, and he would not agree to something rushed. I told him he was refusing because he wanted to punish me. He said he was refusing because he wanted a fair process. That word process made my mouth go dry. I asked him if he had talked to someone. He said he was getting advice like any adult would. I tried to twist that into a threat. I said he was trying to scare me. He said he was not trying to scare anyone. He said he wanted clear rules because we were not good at talking anymore. I felt people in the waiting area watching us. I lowered my voice, but my words stayed sharp. I told him I could tell everyone why we were here. I told him people would believe me because they already knew how he was. He looked at me for a long second, like he was studying a small crack in glass. Then he said he would not fight me in public, and he would only discuss the kids and necessary money matters. He said if I wanted to talk about blame, I could do it with my friends, not with him. I told him he was acting superior. I told him he thought he was a saint because he stayed calm. He said calm was not sainthood, it was discipline. I almost laughed, because who used the word discipline in a marriage fight? But I did not laugh. I felt my control slipping, and I needed it back. When a staff person finally called our names, I stood quickly, like I was winning. Inside, I tried again. I said the affair was not the point, because the real issue was that Grant did not love me right. I said he ignored me and forced me into loneliness. Grant asked what loneliness meant when I was always on my phone and always at work. I said he was spying on me. He said he was not spying, he was noticing patterns. I told him noticing patterns was just another kind of control. After that meeting, we walked out into the parking lot. The sky was grey. Denise had told me to hold my ground, so I did. I told Grant he would regret dragging this out. I told him I could make him look bad at work and in the neighborhood. Grant said he would not respond to threats. He said he would keep communication in writing and keep it about the kids. I said he was hiding behind rules again. He said rules were what kept people safe when feelings got toxic. That word toxic hit me like a slap, even though he did not say it loud. I snapped that he was the toxic one, because he was cold and passive. He said he did not want to trade labels. He said he wanted to reduce chaos for Mila and Noah. He said the kids were watching us, even when they were not in the car. That evening, Mila asked why I looked angry. I told her I was tired. She asked if Dad would come back. I told her Dad was being stubborn. She asked if she could talk to him. I said yes, because I knew I could not say no without looking cruel. When Grant called, Mila asked if he missed them. Grant said he missed them every day, and he would see them soon. Mila asked if it was her fault. Grant said it was not her fault. I hated how clean his answers were. They made the kids breathe easier. They made me look like the storm again. Later, I tried to message Evan for comfort. He replied with a short line and no warmth. I could feel him slipping away, and I wanted someone to blame. I chose Grant because he was still here in some form. I told myself he was ruining my life on purpose. I told myself he was punishing me for having needs. The next morning, Grant came for a drop-off. He stood at the sidewalk with the kids' bags like always. I told him he could not keep acting like a stranger. He asked what I wanted from him besides parenting and fairness. I said I wanted him to admit he had no rights to the house. He said he would not argue about property in the street. I took a step closer and told him I would not lose what was mine. Grant looked at me, calm in a way that finally felt dangerous, not because of violence, but because it felt final. He said he would not do this the messy way. He said he would handle it properly. I thought Grant's properly line was just another way to scare me. I told myself he wanted me to panic, so I would beg. I did not beg. I decided I would show up calm and win with one fact. My name was on the deed. I repeated that idea like a prayer while I got dressed. The courthouse felt colder than I expected. The lobby had metal rails, plastic chairs, and a smell like old paper. Denise came with me. She squeezed my hand and told me to stay strong. Raymond did not come. He said he needed to watch the kids. I told myself that meant he was taking my side, even if he did not say it loud. Grant was already there. He stood near a wall, not leaning, not pacing. Janet was with him, but she stayed back like she did not want a scene. Kara was there too, but she did not bring the kids. That made me mad in a quiet way. I told myself they were hiding them from me, like I was unsafe. I told myself it was part of Grant's plan to paint me as the problem. A clerk called our names. Grant looked at me, then away. He did not glare. He did not plead. He simply walked when the clerk pointed. The calm felt like a locked door again. In the hallway outside the courtroom, I noticed his folder. It was plain, but thick. The edges were straight. It looked like something from an office, not a marriage. Denise whispered that it was just paperwork and men loved paperwork. I nodded, but my stomach did not nod with me. We went in. The room was bright and quiet. The judge sat high and looked tired, like she had already heard 100 stories that morning. I expected to cry. I expected my voice to shake. I told myself tears would make me look human. But when the judge asked us to speak, my voice came out hard instead. The judge asked basic questions about the house. She asked when it was bought and how the down payment was paid. I answered fast. I said the deed was in my name and that was the end of it. I said I was the one who kept the home stable, and Grant chose to leave. I said I only wanted peace for the kids. The judge asked Grant if he agreed. Grant said he did not agree with my description. He said he left because I told him to leave, and because I was escalating fights in front of others. He said he kept consistent time with the kids. He said he was not asking for drama, only for fair steps. The judge asked about money. She asked who paid the mortgage. I said we both did because we were married. I said marriage meant sharing. I liked how that sounded. It made me feel generous. Then Grant's side started laying things out. It was not loud. It was not emotional. It was a slow line of dates and numbers. Grant told the judge that he had proof of the down payment source. He said a large part came from a separate account tied to him before the marriage. He said he could trace it cleanly. He showed statements and a transfer record. I tried to lean and read, but I could not see the details from where I sat. I only saw the judge's eyes moving across the pages, like she was reading a map. I interrupted and said it did not matter, because the deed was my name. The judge asked me if there was clear proof that Grant gifted his contribution to me as a gift, not as a shared family purchase. I said the gift was the deed. I said Grant agreed to it. The judge asked if there was a written gift statement. I said normal couples did not write love letters to the bank. Denise made a small sound, like she wanted to clap. The judge did not react. Grant then explained the mortgage payments. He said he had been paying from his account, even after he moved out, because he did not want the kids to lose stability. He showed automatic payment records. I wanted to say he was doing that to look good. I wanted to say it was manipulation. But the judge did not ask how it felt. She asked what the record showed. Then the topic turned to spending. I told myself this was where Grant would look petty, because adults spend money. I told myself the judge would roll her eyes. Grant's packet had a section with bank entries and dates. He said there were purchases tied to my affair during the marriage. He did not use ugly words. He said third party and non-marital spending. He pointed out meals, gifts, and a short trip that matched days I told Grant I was working late. He showed timestamps that matched my texts. He showed a screenshot where I told Grant I was in a meeting while my card was used across town. My face went hot. I told the judge those were normal things. I said I was stressed and needed support. I said Grant ignored me, so I found someone who listened. I said that was not a crime. The judge said she was not judging feelings. She said she was judging financial fairness. The judge asked me if I denied the spending. I said the spending was small. Grant pointed to totals. They were not huge alone, but together they looked heavy. The judge asked if I had proof that these were marital needs. I said emotional needs were needs. The judge wrote something down and did not look up. Then custody came up, and I thought I would win by calling Grant distant. I started to explain how he was robotic and how he confused the kids. Grant's side did not attack me. He showed a simple schedule, messages about pickups, bedtime, medicine, and school notes. His messages were short and polite. Mine looked sharp and messy next to them. I tried to explain that I was under pressure. The judge asked why I used threats about reputation. I said I was only defending myself. The judge asked about my public posts. I said those were my feelings. The judge asked if I understood how public claims could harm co-parenting. I said people needed to know my truth. The judge said truth needed support, not just volume. When the judge paused, the room felt like it stopped breathing. My mouth was dry. Denise's hand loosened on my arm. The judge said the deed in my name did not erase Grant's financial interest and traced contributions. She said the record supported his claim for reimbursement and equity. She said my non-marital spending during the marriage counted against me in the financial split. She said temporary possession of the home would not stay with me. She ordered a temporary structure that put the house and key decisions under a plan I did not control. She also set rules for communication and warned against public smears. I waited for a final sentence that would save me. It did not come. The judge finished, and I heard the word granted attached to Grant, not to me. My legs felt weak, like they belonged to someone else. I looked at Denise, expecting her to argue, but she stared straight ahead like she was trying not to be seen. Grant did not smile. He gathered his folder and stood up with the same calm he brought in. I walked in, believing a deed was a weapon, and I walked out understanding it was not.